Joe, the former Ohio State defensive coordinator Jim Knowles spoke with ESPN this week on how things ended at his time and tenure after a national title run at the university. Well, is it Ohio State University? I was going to say the University of, but Ohio State University, the Ohio State University. Joe, I don't know if many have seen this. Basically, he talked about the awkwardness going out the door. But the interesting thing that Jim Knowles talked about here was that he was trying to get a contract extension in the season. It didn't come to pass. And 2 days after the national title, he contacts James Franklin, and that was what she wrote.
One of the things, Heather Dinich reported this on ESPN. One of the things that I kind of caught my attention is he pointed out that there was some finger pointing that had happened after the Oregon loss. And there was also him referencing that he got used to it. He got used to the pressure. He got used to him receiving a lot of the blame. And I mean, heck, we've done that on this show. We've talked about how Jim Knowles wasn't doing a good job. We talked about how the defense didn't perform. But it sounds like there might have been some of that happening within the building. I just found it really odd. And I'm not going to speculate on what was happening behind closed doors. I don't think that's truly fair to do, but I found it really odd that they didn't immediately rush to extend him. They won the national championship because of him. They went on that run in the playoff. I don't want to hear anyone say otherwise because of him. That defense played at an insane level. We can go back and look at all the clips, all the segments, Blake, that we recorded during that playoff run. We spoke highly of Jim Knowles. They were in the Michigan game because of Jim Knowles, not because of Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly dragged them down. Their success this year with the up and down nature of their offense, it was because of Jim Knowles. I mean, he has every right to be not only talking about this right now, but to feel uncomfortable about it when he accomplished so much for this team.
I mean, the interesting thing is, and Ohio State fans won't back you on this, and that's fine. But
they're mad at me right now.
They're pretty pissed off at you. Do you remember the goal line stands against Penn State, Nebraska? Do you remember the multiple goal line stands against Michigan? Do you remember the goal line stands in the playoff game versus Texas? What are we talking about here? Now, here's what I think. If you go back, please do me a favor, bud. I want you to do me a favor. Remember when he left, we had a conversation in a bullet point. Joe, is it just the money here? Was it just the money? We talked about that because there comes a part where a dude doesn't really there's no way that you can convince me that they weren't going to give him $3 million at Ohio State. There's no way. I cannot be convinced.
Well,
I can't.
What was stated in the article, and again, this is a lot of, he said shit. He said that essentially that if he would have taken less to stay. And I think that he had indicated in the article that the offer was not as much as what Penn State was offering him.
Which breeds what? In-house tension. Ryan Day felt it. And he blamed somebody that he shouldn't have been blaming. And he can't blame the guy, his mentor, and Chip Kelly, the reason of it. I mean, you're blaming Jim Knowles for what exactly? For what? Please tell me. Because I will tell you right now, there are probably, I'm not going to say all 132. I think that there's 130 teams in the country right now that would take Jim Knowles as their DC.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
One of the things that kind of caught my attention with this, and it made me think, and I know that I see Elks in the chat is kind of pointing out they were focused on winning a national championship, trying to work through an extension in that timeline. The counter from the Ohio State administration and Ryan Day would have been, it's bad timing. We can't focus on that, try to work through that right now. I would argue that that's not true. Well, Knowles would have an agent who's handling that, and it would probably
Can I stop you right there? Can I please stop? That is dog shit. That is complete and utter dog shit. It is the agent and the ADs. Hey, AD, I need 5 minutes of your time, Ryan. Do you want Jim Knowles extended? Yes, sounds good. The AD goes back to his office. The AD starts getting in contract negotiations. with the agent. That's dog shit. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear about an extension. The reason they didn't do it was because they had already lost to Oregon, and they thought if they lost again that they might need to have some shakeups. The reason they didn't do that shit was mainly due to the fact that they wanted some outs just in case, and if they signed an extension, and if something happened and they needed to fire everybody, that they didn't want to pay a massive buyout. That is what happened. I do not want to fucking hear this lame excuse that you couldn't get that done during the year. It is bullshit. That is bullshit. They didn't want to pay a massive buyout, and you know it.
I'm laughing because I have to go and cut out all those curse words now before I send this to. Oh, damn. Because we're airing on Sirius this week. No, you're fine. That was an amazing rant because I think that you're on to something though. Like,
okay,
I think that
the non-curse version was me saying it was manure. Okay, because we got to cut that out.
Well, I'm just gonna bleep it. I'm just gonna bleep. We'll be fine.
That was manure that they couldn't get it done. They thought that they would have to fire people, and they didn't want to pay a massive buyout. You know that that's true.
I think that that's a really good angle to take here, and I understand that we're speculating, but you're right. If you don't win the national championship, it is a completely different environment. Completely different. You lost to Michigan. You didn't win the Big Ten championship game in a year where the expectation was for you to win the Big Ten championship with all the guys that were coming back, all the money that was spent. Yeah, I think that they were looking to point the finger. I think that they needed somebody to point. I think that they didn't know if they wanted to bring him back or not. I wouldn't have been shocked if he didn't get forced out at the end of the year knowing all this. And again, we're kind of partially speculating.
No, but here's the thing. They teach you this in investigating. You got to stop speculating and start asking, is this the truth of what happened? Because when so many actions will start pointing towards something, it's not speculation anymore. That's what you call, wait for it, a proof of guilt. So it comes to a part where, and it's so funny, the last thing you said was, hey, Blake, heads up, don't curse. And the first thing I do when I get mad is I curse. Anyway.
I mean, I'm not, it was a great rant by you.
We talked about with Michigan, okay, and Sharon Moore getting suspended, that it was on Michigan that it was a mission of guilt, right? Like it feels like an admission of guilt. It feels like an admission of guilt that you didn't want to extend him because you didn't know the way that the season was going to go. And here's the crazy thing. You lost by 1 on the road.
Right.
And Joe, you had the ball with a minute plus on the clock to go. I mean,
you talking about the Michigan game? That was at home.
No, I'm talking about the Oregon game.
Oh, Oregon. Sorry. I'm sorry. I got mixed up.
The Oregon game that you lost on the road at home, you lost, what was it, 31-30? Wasn't it 31-30? Wasn't it the final score?
It was a close end of that game, and I think that it's mischaracterized the outcome of that game. Denzel Burke didn't play well. You're going up against a top 5 offense in the country. I would argue the lack of late game execution and the complete failure. You had time. We talked about this. It was a complete mismanagement of the clock and the time that was available to them. I would argue that a lot more of that blame was on Chip Kelly, and I think it was an even blame between the two of them. It was not the defense's fault purely for the performance. And we talked about that after that game. We talked about how Will Howard made a really bad decision and let the time click down. When
he had a Dak moment. He had the Dak moment, remember, at the end of the game.
Right. One other thing with this, though, I was going to say, I think that your inference is you're on to something, but the overarching thought here. We talk about how the transfer portal timeline is a mess. I think that a very underrated thing that nobody's talked about, it seems like the timeline for establishing extensions and negotiating them is also a mess. Like if this was coming down in the middle of a playoff run, why couldn't this have been done sooner? Ohio State should have had the forethought to do it sooner, but is this something that can happen in the future at other schools?
Joe, negotiations like that never start at the end of a season.
Right. They must have had a thought to get rid of him.
So to Elks' point, or to Super Chat, he says, looking to leave 29 hours after winning a natty, you wanted to leave all along. Knowles took the defense, but 0 second.
I reject that.
Michigan. I reject it too. And Elks, I know you're trying to defend Ohio State. That's your team here. The 0 half points punts has nothing to do with them only allowing 13 yards. Your offense has got to score more than 10. That's number one. Number two, are you going to sit here and try to convince me legitimately that you wanted him to stay? He told you during the year these conversations were having, and they didn't give him an extension. He had one year left. He calls James like, hey, bro, I'm kind of a free agent here. What you want to do? BS, man. BS. Ryan Day and them not getting this done might come back and bite him in the rear end. Joe, I don't think that Matt Patricia is going to be a bad DC. I don't. But there also comes a place in time where I ask, what if that does go bad? And during the season, you didn't sign him. So that, like, there's only one or two things that can happen here. Either Patricia isn't good, and you're like, Ryan, what are you doing? Right? Even through a natty season. And what do you mean? What do you mean you were going through a season, a national championship season? You lost to Michigan. You didn't even know if you would win the first game of a playoff.
Right.
What was the talk of going into Tennessee, Joe? Right. Man, there's a chance they can go off in there if that's the same team that plays. What are you talking about?
I would also argue that, like, the general awkward saltiness of them telling him not to come to the celebration.
Oh, that's such BS too. Come on, Joe. Come on.
No, but I'm saying that I think that it also plays into that there was something on the opposite end that they were not comfortable with, satisfied with what Knowles was doing.
I don't think that Ryan Day didn't know that he was leaving. They had to have known he was leaving because that's why they told him not to come back, right? Mm-hmm. Like, clearly. Yeah. But there also comes a point in time where, look, man, it's your own fault. But I wouldn't have kept it. I mean, to be real with you, I wouldn't have kept him there if he was signing with Penn State. That even though it's not like a traditional rival, it's not Michigan to you. I mean, Penn State, you play in high-profile games with Penn State damn near every year. Like, I mean, I wouldn't have kept him either, but at the same time, it's their fault. Let's not act as if that Ohio State is blameless at any given moment. Brother, you lost 2 games. Now, you can say one's on the offense, but one was definitely – one was on the defense, but one was definitely on the offense here. Hey, guess what? In primetime games against primetime opponents, sometimes you got to go down and score. What happened with Chip Kelly on the last drive? Why aren't you putting that on him?
Right.
Why isn't the pressure on him that he couldn't get the last drive done? So, look, Ohio State fans, we love you. And, well, y'all don't love Joe at the current moment because he defended Michigan. But when it comes to you and your football team, we have never come out against you. If you cannot see that this is some BS, then I don't know what to show you here, Joe. I'm sorry.
I do think that Ryan Day is on the wrong side of this, and I honestly I think
especially if it backfires. But if Matt Patricia does great, and they ain't gonna care,
right? They'll be fine. Which I thought that the Patricia hire was a great hire. I was one of the few people who supported it. I just think generally that this is kind of screams to me that they mishandled it, and I think that, and what I keep seeing on Twitter is that they're pissed off at Knowles for talking the way that he did. I personally think that Knowles is handling this as best as he could. I don't think he needed to speak on this, and he could have ignored Dinich's questions and told her that he didn't want to answer them. But at the same time, it sounds like he tried to act as cordially as possible and just try to get this thing done, and they kept putting it off. So, and Alex has a couple comments about this, saying that a couple super chats saying that he heard it was later on in the playoffs.
From what I've heard, it was later in the playoffs with a $2 super chat. It says 0 punts in the second, or 0 second half punts versus Michigan every year. I mean, that is fair. Okay, fine. Do it. But he still made his defense, that he had to rebuild, made multiple stops for you. Don't you dare come, Elks. I love you. And thank you for the money. I appreciate it. But please don't come. Yeah, don't come at me and say that, oh, well, this week we didn't have second half punts versus Michigan. Well, Joe, they're a national championship team. 2 years ago, they're a national championship team. What do you mean? Like, in reference to last thing for me here, your last part about not speaking with Dinich. Joe, we've had coordinators been paid $2 million before. I mean, 2 years ago, Mike Denbrock, who signed or who got an extension from LSU at $2 million, goes back to where his roots are, and a guy that he knew in Marcus Freeman. He goes back to Notre Dame. Joe, he's going to make $2.2 million this year per sourcing. Okay, because they're a private institution, you don't know. But I don't know if we break news here or not. But I know for a fact he's going to make over $2 million this year. For a fact. The fact that you have a coordinator that subsided the $2 million mark and is getting paid $3.5 million, I mean, they're putting a crap load of pressure on him to talk to him. Why wouldn't he talk? I mean, this is groundbreaking college football stuff here. This isn't like your everyday run-of-the-mill, another coordinator getting paid $2 million. That's not it. This is completely different.
Well, and I don't blame him for providing this context because the speculation at the time was that Penn State swooped in and offered him all this money to leave and that they stole him away. And it doesn't sound like that was the case. It sounded like, and also one of the things that I said at the time when he left, that something seemed off, something seemed really weird that this happens. There clearly was something that we're missing. And now we have that missing information that call it what it is. I don't want to hear any Ohio State fans, and Alex, it actually sounds like you're probably one of the more level-headed Ohio State fans because he's saying that both sides are at fault. It's a fallout. That's what this is. Jim Knowles didn't do anything that was unethical, scummy. He didn't do anything that was wrong.
He came in and Ryan Day's job, and he did it.
But he's not completely absolved of any fault in this. He's not completely taken out of it because I'm sure that there's a side that we don't know, and maybe we'll even get a side that we don't know from Ryan Day because Ryan Day likes to talk. So, and the other side of this is that Ryan Day is also not completely innocent. What?
Who do you think Ryan Day was more mad at? Jim Knowles after the fallout of negotiations or lack thereof negotiations? Or do you think he was more mad at Lou Holtz?
I think he was more mad at Lou Holtz. This sounds more passive-aggressive. He was actually mad at Lou Holtz.
Why are you getting mad at a 90-year-old?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Anyway, look. Dude, what if Penn State does do what people think they can do this year?
We will revisit this. This will be even more toxic.
We will revisit this. This is
conversation. All right. Has so many great supplements for whatever you're looking for. Blake and I, we are health nuts. We are always looking for an extra edge. They have got supplements that help reduce soreness, increase recovery, help improve sleep, as well as support immunity. Most importantly, though, it is trusted by so many people that need reliable quality supplements, specifically over 500 collegiate and pro sports teams, 10 of the last Super Bowl champions. Every single team that has played in Europe or Brazil this season has had Cheruboni with them. 66 out of 67 Power 4 conference football teams, and every NCAA football and basketball champion since 2007. As you said, Blake, you can find their products on Amazon. Cheruboni